But I'm going to make this very, very simple. It's just going to be a straight up conversation that you and I are having, because I have a lot of questions about some of the stuff that you went through. Because like I said, I don't have kids. I didn't actually go through E-EFMP. My wife and I are civilians, and it wasn't mandatory for us. So everything all the videos I've done, all the information I've given about those two topics have been like from people like you who have been nice enough to share their experience and whatnot. So let's get into it. So just tell me your name and who you came here with and where you're stationed at.
Sure. My name is Rebekah Schwartz. I came here with my husband, who's a captain in the Army, and our daughter. At the time of our PCS, she was 15 months old. And then we also brought our 10-pound Chihuahua Papillon.
Okay, nice. Okay, so let's start with this. How much time did you guys actually have to PCS out of the States, and where were you coming from?
So we came from Fort Bragg, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We had 21 days between getting orders and our flight. So yeah, that includes weekends. So yeah, it was a real hustle. We had luckily known that this is probably going to happen for a while. We got caught up in E-EFMP for a long time, but yeah, we moved here in 3 weeks.
You guys are active duty. You're active duty. So let's get your active duty. So it's definitely mandatory that you both have to have an E-EFMP screening, right?
All dependents. The service member doesn't, because all their medical records are already in the system, so they can't be enrolled in E-EFMP.
Right. Okay. So then for the civilian, so that you were just talking you and your toddler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what were the first things that you guys had to do?
Right. So this is coming from an Army perspective. I know that other branches do things differently. But the way that we started was my husband had to initiate the OCONUS, so outside of the continental United States, screening in Enterprise, which is a new program that the Army rolled out, I believe, at the end of 2022, or at least for the E-EFMP portion of it.
Right.
Beforehand, you used to have to do a ton of paperwork by hand, and I think it just streamlines the process. So the service member initiates the OCONUS screening for all dependents. They fill out this survey online. The next steps are to get a physical from your PCM. Basically, they have to complete it's a form 2792. And that form is the family member medical summary. Mm-hmm. On that form, it indicates if the patient has any conditions that they've been diagnosed with, what treatment entails, how often they have to go see a specialist, and then also just your basic bio data. If you don't have any diagnoses or anything like that, it's basically as simple as just getting a physical.
Okay. Did you expect something to pop up, E-EFMP related, or did you?
For one of the people in my family, I knew that we would have that person enrolled in E-EFMP. Okay. Because they do have existing conditions. The other person doesn't have existing conditions. So for the person who didn't have an existing condition, the process was so simple. We submitted the paperwork, boom, no enrollment, done.
And how long did that take when you knew it was quote unquote done? Once
it was immediate. I mean, just about immediate. I would say, I don't know, maybe a week or two, and then we knew that person was good to go.
We're talking 21 days here. Every day counts, right?
Well, that's between the orders and going. With the whole E-EFMP process was actually about 9 months.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So if we
you're saying the 21 days was from when you had orders in your hand. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. All right.
Oh yeah. No, E-EFMP takes a long time. So we were notified that we were going to be PCSing to Germany in August of 2022. We were supposed to report in 6 months, which would put us at February 23. A person in my family needed to have surgery, and the recovery was going to be pretty extensive. So we asked for a 3-month delay so that person could have everything covered before we go. The delay was granted, which is how we got here in May. So at the end of the treatment and everything like that, we had the specialist complete that 2792, and then we were able to submit it that way. But so that was just our experience.
Okay, gotcha. So 2792 goes in. And I'm assuming this goes to the doctor or to whoever is looking over the medical issues, right?
Right.
And
so
then
you're.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, you have a E-EFMP case coordinator for your screening. So there's one person that you're communicating with and sending all your paperwork to. In addition to the 2792, you have to submit all medical records from providers who are not on post.
Okay. So you're sending, say that one more time. You're sending records to all the providers that are not on post?
So you have to get all of the records from the providers that you've seen who aren't on post and submit them to your E-EFMP coordinator.
I see. So basically all the civilian medical officials and whoever you're getting information from, you're taking all that and you're sending all that package to one person. You're sending that to your case coordinator?
Yes. And you're sending the 2792 to the case coordinator.
Okay. Got it.
Once all of that is submitted, which is usually the longest part of this entire process, is getting all the records, getting the forms. Once you submit all of that to your case coordinator, there's an interview. And interview, I feel like is a much heavier word than what it actually is. It's an appointment to have a conversation, to clarify anything, to make corrections as needed, so that when the coordinator is processing all of your paperwork, they're doing it accurately. Okay.
And where did you have your interview? And
ours was virtual. This would have been in March of 23. Ours was virtual.
Okay, got it. All right. And how did that go?
It went great. There were some questions about, so the family member who did have existing conditions, there were some questions, and the coordinator was able to write it up on her own. We didn't have to get the doctor to re-sign off on anything like that. It was just so that she could communicate that information going forward.
Yeah.
But I would say it was maybe 10, 15 minutes. And it was fairly simple. You don't find out anything in that appointment whether or not you're approved.
Okay. And did you guys have concerns that that person that needed the extra attention or medication or treatment was going to actually get that while they were in Germany? Was that one of your questions you had for them?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. So the one person who's an E-EFMP has to be seen at least annually for their condition.
Okay.
And resources here are so limited that it is really hard to get approved if you are an E-EFMP. It does depend on where exactly you're going in Germany. But in general, it is hard to get approved.
Okay. All right. So that's good information. So now you're just kind of waiting, right?
Yes. So in Enterprise, it actually gives you updates as your packet is moving through the system. In general, so there are a lot of updates, but in general, your coordinator reviews everything, forwards it on to the E-EFMP medical director, and this is at your current installation. After the medical director reviews it, they kick it back to the coordinator for some more paperwork to be signed electronically. Now, one thing that's really important here to note is that the system doesn't let you know if it needs your signature. You have to constantly be checking the system, or else you could end up being the holdup and not know it. So
because of a signature?
Because of a signature, right. After the director reviews it, there's 1 or 2 more forms that you have to sign off on. And yeah, it doesn't let you know unless you're constantly checking and you see that notification.
Okay. Did you guys have learn that the hard way or something?
So make sure you check what's going on.
Okay.
So your coordinator gets it again, and then they forward it internationally. So they forward it to the gaining country. In our case for Germany, it ended up being reviewed by MRC Staff Europe, which I believe is Medical Readiness Command Europe. And they determined if care was available or not. And you just get a little ding in the post if it is or not. We were fortunate in that we found out the care was available. Again, the only way that we knew is because we were checking the portal multiple times a day. And that's it. That's it. Now, if you're not approved, we obviously didn't have to go through this, but there is an appeal process. I believe it takes about 6 months.
That's just terrific.
Yeah. Yeah.
we all have time, right?
Right. And unfortunately, the service member goes without you until that appeal process happens. But there is a way to rebut it, or I believe that there's also a process for requesting a different installation.
Oh.
I'm again not incredibly familiar with that, but based on my understanding, that's
okay. And then two questions. First question is, what were you doing during the time that you were waiting for your E-EFMP to be approved or not approved?
Right.
And then my follow-up question is, now that you are here and kind of in the system, I want to know about kind of that process of like making sure that, checking in with your medical people they're in Baumholder, and if the medical attention is in fact actually there that you need. So let's start with, what were you doing while you were waiting?
We were biting our nails and constantly refreshing the page. I mean, truthfully, because you don't have orders and you're done with the paperwork on your end, there's nothing else that you can do. If you do happen to go to the doctor or have to see your specialist, or if something emergent happens, it's very important to communicate that with your E-EFMP coordinator. But yeah, in the meantime, it's just a waiting game. Ours took from the day that let's see, I wrote it down. I wrote the dates down.
Yeah, good.
So we submitted all of our paperwork on March 17th. And then by April 24th, we knew that care was available. So a little over a month. I believe that the gaining installation has 30 days to review your packet.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about March 17th till April. I forgot that date that you said in April, but
24.
April 24 was like you're approved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. So for about a month and a week, we didn't have anything else to do.
Got it. Okay. So then April 24th is when you realize, well, high fives all around, first of all, right?
I know, it's a great surprise.
For sure. You're officially going to Germany, so buckle up. And this is your first time in Germany?
I have visited before, but obviously it's my first time living here.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And then husband's first time as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was our 15-month-old's first time out of the country. So
really,
we're buckling up. Yeah.
You haven't traveled overseas yet, huh?
I know, right? Yeah. So we found out on the 24th, and then just a few days later on the 28th, he had orders, and the report no later than date was the 22nd of May. So
okay.
Less than a month for the report no later than date, and then we actually flew out early. We flew out on the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind.
Okay, so before we get into the flight and all that stuff and the toddler, tell me, so now you're here, the dust is settled. What's up with E-EFMP now that you're there?
Okay, so you get here and nothing can happen in terms of seeing a provider until you're put into DEERS here. So that needs to be very high priority for the service member, is to enroll everybody in DEERS. Once you're in the system, it takes like 2 to 3 days for you to be able to start making appointments. Unfortunately, any referrals that you already had don't carry over. So you have to go see your PCM again and then get new referrals and then get in the system. So once you get here, it can still be a really long wait to go see someone that you need to see. For us, took a few weeks to get into Deers. I think that's just because of when we were able to go.
Right.
But then once I called the PCM, it was about 3 weeks for an appointment to get into, or just to see them so that we could get the referral. And then again, like 2 to 3 weeks, depending on who you're going to see, like what service you need. So
Got it.
to see a military provider, a military specialist, it was 2 to 3 weeks of a wait once we got the referral. And then a couple of months to see a non-military related or affiliate.
Did you have the option? Is that how that worked?
No. They put in the referral, and then there's a referrals office here, and they look to see who's available, and then they just book you, which is nice compared to the States where you have all these options, and then you're the one responsible for booking appointments. So if you have to see a military provider, you can just, once the referral's in, you can just call the location and then book that way normally. But if there's not a military provider that you can see for a specialty, the referrals office will call you and explain the situation and let you know that you have to see a German provider. If there are a few options, they'll let you know, but in my experience, there hasn't been. Okay. And then they ask you sort of when you would like the appointment, and they call the doctor's office and schedule everything on your behalf.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay. So they're the middleman.
Yes.
And this is your PCM, or is it right?
This is the referrals office.
Okay.
So
because
you puts in the referral.
PCM, and then just to clarify, the PCM is your primary care
manager.
Got it.
PCP.
Got it.
Okay. I
have
no idea why it's different. But.
So correct me if I'm wrong. That person finds out a referral to whoever you need to be with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they put in a referral for this specialty. So let's say I need physical therapy. I go to my doctor, they'll put in a referral for physical therapy, and they'll send it to the referrals office. And then the referrals office here will find someone who can provide physical therapy for me.
Got it. Okay. And then it's on them to schedule an appointment.
If you're seeing someone not affiliated with the military. Okay. If it is with the military, they'll let you know and you just call like regular. But if it's a German provider, then they go on your behalf and they schedule everything for you. So you talk with them beforehand about good times, bad times. Yeah. And then they call the doctor's office, make the appointment, and then they let you know when you're going. Now, the good thing though, during this appointment or like the phone call with the referrals coordinator is that they'll ask you if you want a liaison to go with you, which for me was such a relief because I had never heard that there was someone who could go with you to a German appointment. So they're American. They speak German, and they're able to meet up with you on the way to the office, show you where the office is, help you get checked in, help you do any paperwork, which is so nice because it is obviously in German.
Yeah.
And then most German doctors here will speak English, but if there's any confusion or language barrier, then the liaison is able to act as a translator and guide you through that situation.
Interesting. And so those liaisons work for the military? They work for the government? Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay. And and maybe I missed this while we were talking, but did you get referred to somebody off post, a German? You did. Okay. And have you gone to that person already?
We have not. That appointment is unfortunately several months away.
Oh boy.
I think because of when they booked out, and then we were also trying to target a certain window for maintaining care. So yeah, so that is going to be a longer wait. But it'll be nice to have the liaison go with us to help us sort through the German healthcare system.
Yeah, definitely. That's nice that they provide that. This is the first time I'm hearing about that. So that's good information. And so then I would assume then you would go to that German doctor, feel the vibe, see if that's the person that you really want to work with, if they're going to, be able to help you or whatever. And then you can continue to schedule appointments with them, or I guess the other alternative is to find a new person, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure in terms of how much choice you get.
Okay.
So when they called to let us know that we needed to see a German doctor, they said, Yeah, the closest one is about an hour away from you, and that was it.
Oh, an hour away. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So is that towards like K-Town area, like Kaiserslautern or what?
It's a little bit past Eder Oberstein, but we're in Baumholder, so that's only like 25 minutes away.
Okay.
I forget. It's like a small little place, because this is a pretty niche specialty that we have to go see.
Got it.
I'm pretty sure that for more common providers, you wouldn't have to drive an hour, especially with K-Town.
Yeah.
And Rammstein and Landstuhl and all the providers that are there. But yeah, I really think it depends a lot on whether you go on post or off in terms of getting into the appointment, and then really what kind of specialty you need.
Okay. Now, did any doctor talk to you during your whole entire E-EFMP process of which specialty needs can get you through versus ones that are more difficult, or do you feel comfortable speaking about that? If you don't, it's fine. But
so we did not hear from a doctor in terms of what's better versus not. But I can say that when we were going through the process, our coordinator did tell us that the fewer specialties that you're involved in, generally the better. So for example, if someone needs to see 4 or 5 specialists, but we know for sure that they're going to be discharged in 1 month from one of the specialists, it would be better to wait a month and then put in all the paperwork so that you no longer have to include that as a required specialist.
okay.
When E-EFMP reviews your package, they won't consider anticipated discharge dates. It's just the actual discharge date.
Interesting. I'm curious if they have some sort of list. I'm sure they do. They just don't share it with everybody. But there's probably some sort of list where it's like, okay, if you're this, or this, then you're going to be in this tier. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I do know from hearsay that mental health is one of the hardest specialties to find over here, as well as some services for children who have autism.
Yeah.
But that's not from experience. That's hearsay.
Yeah. This is kind of a fun fact, but when we first moved over here, before DTV or even thinking about doing this, I was working at this. My wife's a teacher. So I was working, and the teachers signed 2-year contracts. They're the only people on base that can stay indefinitely, right? And I figured this out a long time ago when I was a young officer. But that's another story. But anyways, so we thought we were just going to do 2 years. So we just wanted to travel the entire time. We don't have any kids. And so I just worked at the school so that we could match the same schedule. And I used to work for special needs kids. And I mean, I had a lot of autistic kids that I would have to help. And so I've always wondered, I wonder how much help they're getting outside of the school. You know what I mean? What else, how else are they being supported and whatnot. So I've always been curious about that. So maybe I can talk to somebody that has that type of experience.
Yeah, I know that E-EFMP, that it mainly covers housing needs, educational needs, and medical needs. Because my daughter is only 15 months old and I am obviously not in school, I can't speak for the housing or educational needs, just the medical component of it. But right. I'm sure that the process looks different based on what your family's needs are.
Okay. Well, that's super insightful. Was there anything else E-EFMP related that you now that you wish you would have known earlier, or anything else that might be able to help incoming families with E-EFMP?
Well, one of the mistakes that I made is that I had assumed that since all of our records were digitized for the E-EFMP review process, that our receiving installation would already have them, but they did not have any of our records because the medical systems didn't communicate. I know that different installations are switching right now to the new healthcare management system. But anyway, they don't always speak together. So I would say always have a physical copy of the records with you. And then also make sure that you have all of your imaging that you've had done, any testing, just so that you can go ahead and provide that when needed.
Okay. Good tip. Yeah. Then that goes for everything though too. Like your orders, all your PCS like paperwork, you need to make copies and copies on copies of that. So
For sure.
but EFMP as well. Good to know. Okay. Well, Rebekah, that's really it. I really appreciate you, like, during nap time, explaining your experience and helping other people out,
Sure. It was supposed to be leg day, so any excuse to not have to do that would be great.
Okay, sweet.